out of order since Mr. Cardwell is here. BL 2012-216 sponsors Berry and McGuire amends the Metro Code provisions pertaining to property tax billing and payment procedures. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Cardwell, if you wouldn't mind explaining the bill to the committee, please. 2012-216.
Basically, what this bill does, it allows the trustee's office to send out tax statements by email. I guess it was 3 years ago, Council Lady Megan Berry had asked if we had ever considered sending statements out by email. And at that time, we had considered that, but the software that we were using at that time, and we're still using the same software, they did not have the ability to do that. We asked them if they would write some software that would give us that ability, which they have done, and only for a cost of about $2,700, we were able to amend the software to where it will now, if you request, they will send you a tax statement by email. So this is a great move forward, and we would ask that every council member who does not have a mortgage company paying their taxes to consider us sending them their statement by email. And if you would notify our office, we would be able to do that this coming tax year.
Thank you, Trustee Cardwell. Councilman Garrett.
Charlie, thank you. I just wanted you to explain that. Some people do watch this on TV, so you have a chance to brag a little bit about getting us into the 21st century.
Yes, sir.
And then I have to get a little personal. There's a bill on the agenda that also brings our boards and commissions into the 21st century by putting their email and telephone numbers on our website as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Councilman Tiger, you're recognized.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Cardwell. Do we know what the figure is to mail a tax statement?
Well, the postage is about 37 cents. But then the cost of preparing the paperwork that is put into an envelope and mailed, I would say probably in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 per statement. And I would be guessing at that because I do not have the exact amount. We have a tax statement, we have a return envelope that goes into that, and sometimes we will send a flyer also in the packet. But now any flyer or any information we will need to send, we will do that by email.
That was my next question, that if you do send me my bill electronically,
yes, sir,
then any other mailings or attachments will go electronically also.
Yes, sir. Right.
Is your database a matter of public record?
It is, yes.
So we should at least inform folks that if I give you my email address, then it is subject to someone scrutinizing that.
Well, that's the same way with your tax statement today. Anyone can go on the website and call up your property address and know what your taxes are.
Absolutely, and I use your system extensively during tax season to check on paid property taxes, but you wouldn't anticipate that a person's email address would flash up on that screen in any place?
It should not, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen, but I will have to check that.
Right. John, is there... Mr. Cardwell, it would not be your practice to sell an email list to a company.
We do not sell anything. Anything sold is done by IT. We do not sell anything.
Do we have provisions that would prohibit IT from making those addresses available to some marketing company?
I'm not aware of any code provisions that specify that, but I do know it is their practice not to sell information like that to companies.
If a third-party marketing company requested that from IT, would there be any reason that IT could deny them for that?
I don't know. I'd have to check into that.
Let's put our greatest legal minds and even some of our lesser minds on that and see if we can get an answer to that at some point. Thank you.
So,
I've had race law 20 years. I qualified to get those.
Let's see, Council Lady Berry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that how much I appreciate that Mr. Cardwell has taken the time and the energy to look into this, to make the effort, and to move us along in electronic communications. I think as we've listened to previous budget hearings, we've heard from different departments, and making sure that finding these ways to be efficient is a really good thing. And I applaud him for taking the initiative and doing this, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, I thank the council for their support and the funding for this program. Thank you.
Council Lady Langster, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, Mr. Caldwell. How much savings do you think this will be realized, let's say, the first year?
It's going to be hard to calculate what the savings might be for the first year. I think this is probably going to be a project. It'll take probably 3 to 5 years to get people accustomed to receiving their tax statement by email. But the low cost of setting this up should be recovered, I'd say, in a couple of years.
That's good. Thank you for saving taxpayers in this way.
Thank you, Council Lady. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Cardwell, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, back to our original agenda. RS 2012-379. Sponsors McGuire approves an application for a $25,000 grant from Ovation Americans for the Arts to the Metro Arts Commission for the Artober Nashville Challenge. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-380, sponsors McGuire, approves an application for a $5,000 grant from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee to the Community Education Commission to provide for free classes to the community. I have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-381, sponsors McGuire, approves an application for a $20,800 grant from the Tennessee Literary Coalition to the Community Education Commission to continue funding a full-time AmeriCorps program participant. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-382, sponsors McGuire, approves an annual federal Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant for $522,006 to the Metro Police Department for equipment and supplies. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-383, sponsors McGuire, approves the annual contract for services performed by Metro Government for the Emergency Communications District relative to operation of the Enhanced 911 service for fiscal year 2012 and 2013. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-384, sponsors McGuire, approves a grant of $3,892,000 from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to the Metro Fire Department to hire 35 new firefighters. May I have a motion, please? A motion and a second. Councilman Tigard?
Yes, have some questions for the fire department.
Al Thomas, I'm Assistant Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. First question is the need for these additional firefighters.
Okay, the intent of the SAFER grant is to enhance our ability to put enough personnel on the scene, on the first arriving units, to be able to do all of those tasks that are necessary to fight a fire, basically. And with the additional firefighters we'll get from this grant, we'll be able to increase those numbers on a more regular basis. In other words, we'll be able to enhance our staffing on the first line companies that are arriving on the scene and being able to fight the fire.
All right, and even though we're not obligated in the future, the analysis states it's our intent to keep these firefighters on. What is the expected cost 2 years from now, salary and benefits?
I can get you the exact amount of that, but the $3,892,000 that's in this grant pays the salary for all, and the benefits for those 35 firefighters for this 2 years. And I believe in the pay scale that it goes up just a little bit on that third year, and then subsequently
Sure.
from there. But
So roughly $1.92 million
around that amount.
annually.
Yes, sir.
And question for the administration then, the 2 years out from now, Rich, the source for the funding to continue these firemen?
Well, if a decision is made, obviously, the department continually has employees retiring and leaving, so it's a sort of an in and out game there. But at that point in time, we'll have to make a decision if we're going to continue the service of those employees, firemen if they're needed, and if so, it would come from just revenues. I mean, I would anticipate having some growth in revenues, and we just have to know that in a couple of years, we're probably going to have some couple $1 million for the fire department's annual budget.
Okay. And you're comfortable that the growth with our other obligations in the next couple of years, that a tax increase would not be necessary to keep these firemen on?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Garrett, you're recognized.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rich, just so you listened, and I just want to ask you something. I've gotten a little information from somebody. Tell me, what do we have? All 35 of these people will be able to be cross-trained. We're always talking about firefighters, but if there's 1,000 calls that come in on 911, 985 of them are emergency ambulance calls, not fires, for the constituents. We have 19 ambulances,
Yes, sir.
and we've been at 19 for a number of years, is what I understand.
Yes, sir.
We have approximately 35 vehicles. Is that correct?
As far as the ambulance units, yeah,
Right.
both the front line and reserve units, yes.
We have 35 vehicles. We have 19 that are supposed to be on duty at any one time. Those district council members need to understand that usually runs about 14 or 15 instead, and we're sitting at the same number that it was when Guy Bates was sitting right over there, and Guy Bates has passed away and been gone and was a real leader in this for a number of years. There just hasn't been a lot of emphasis, Rich, in the years that even when you were here back 100 years ago, like me, that there hasn't been a lot of interest in that. I understand that Memphis has 30 ambulances. They have approximately 100,000 more people than we do. I just make those statements and realize that for whatever reason, we're always talking about the fire department, but the fire department is more of an emergency ambulance responder than anything else. So I would urge you somebody needs to come forward and be a leader on trying to put more ambulances on the road.
Councilman, I guess it was probably 4 years ago, we added 2 units, which were the first time units have been added.
Mr. Chairman, let me break in. We added 2 units that were actually added in the previous administration.
But not funded.
This administration had to fund them, so the public thought they were there, but they weren't. This administration, thank you, by doing that, had to fund it, and this council had to fund it. So now we're just really sitting at where we were at previous administration.
But actually, through some better procedures, the response times still remain pretty good.
Yes, sir.
But Acting Chief Lynch and I, we've talked about it. He is concerned about it on a going forward basis, and it is something we're looking at. And I think you're right that as the department grows, the needs are going to be more on the ambulance side than it is on the direct kind of traditional firefighter side. No question about it.
Thank you. I hope you'll spend the next 3 years at least going towards that. And for those of you that hopefully will be here the next 4 years after that, you will think about the fact that most of what the fire department does is ambulance work. And just realize that we need ambulances more than we do fire trucks right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Garrett. Councilman Baker, you're recognized.
Yeah, Chief Thomas, on the firefighting end of this situation, how many firefighters are pension eligible right now?
Well, quite a few. We're kind of an aging department, and so our average age of firefighters is climbing quite a bit.
You'd
So-
say probably about 50% or better?
Well, I'd have to get the numbers for you, but the numbers are quite high.
Yeah, so we got to look at that too. When you become pension eligible and everything, if we had a lot of firefighters take a pension right now, we'd be in bad shape if we didn't get some more firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Claiborne, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for the chief. These additional personnel, how close would that put us to being able to put a full crew on each piece of fire equipment that's responding to fires?
Well, we have a minimum staffing on every engine and ladder company of 3. We have approximately 8 of those engine companies right now that run with 4 with the current staffing we have, and we're anticipating that this extra 35 will allow us to increase that number to 4 on more engine companies, which is the workhorse, if you will, or the one that gets there first, and usually to fight the fire.
Right. So there is not an engine company that's going out now with any less than 3?
That's correct.
So we've been able to at least reach that
We've had that as minimum staffing for a long time. Yes.
But it hadn't always been that true. I mean, I've been on the council since 2007, and I've got a couple of companies in my district, and I know one of them has gone out with 2 people on lots of times.
Well, in over the time that I've been on the department, we've had some, in the past, we had some split companies where there was an engine and a tanker, and maybe the engine might have gone out with 2, but the tanker that was the second apparatus that was still part of that company might go out with the 3rd firefighter. But we've since gotten that to where every engine company is going out with at least 3, and it's been that way for a number of years.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Glover, you're recognized.
Mr. Riebling, I just want to make sure I understand, under this grant, this language, there's no supplanting language in this. In other words, we won't be able to replace positions that if somebody did take an early retirement, replace it with that, and the federal and the government says, no, you can't do that. And then there's also no requirements that should only half of these positions be held because of retirement or whatever case may come about in the future, we have no obligations to repay any of this money because it's a grant?
Right. It's my understanding that you're not under any obligation to maintain these workers once the grant expires. Unlike some of the former grants, and especially the police grants, the COPS grants, they do have a requirement that it not supplant existing personnel, and that you have a requirement to keep them for 3 years or something like that. It's my understanding that this grant does not have those similar kind of arrangements, and so it could be used to fill in. You might not fill in all the vacancies if other people retire. You could use these to fill in some of those vacancies going forward, and that you're not obligated to maintain them. I think we have a moral commitment that once they're on board, we're going to keep them because we've trained them, but it just might mean you might not fill some of the other vacancies as they move up through the ranks.
Okay. In the event that there's the opportunity, and this is kind of playing off of Councilman Garrett and also what Councilman Baker has asked, in the event there's the opportunity to perhaps bring on a few more ambulance operators, EMTs, I'm sure you guys are looking at that. We are. Okay.
I know Mr. Lynch is working on that and has some ideas, and he's just waiting to get through the beginning of the budget to see where he is for this year. But he's going to come with some ideas. I would say within less than a year we'll have some ideas to see if we can't expand the number, because I think Councilman Garrett, and you correctly pointed out, there is probably a need for that going forward.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-385, sponsors McGuire, approves a second amendment to a federal grant to the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management to support port-wide risk management for the Port of Nashville by extending the term of the grant through June 30th, 2013. Have a motion, please. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-386, sponsors Lancaster and McGuire, approves an annual federal grant of $745,672 to the Metro Board of Health for the Healthy Start Initiative. Council Lady Lancaster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move for approval, please.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-387, sponsors Lankster and McGuire, approves an amendment to a state grant to the Metro Board of Health to provide family planning services by eliminating the $200,500 state portion of the funding for a new grant total of $4,273,000. Council Lady Lankster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move for approval, please.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-388, sponsors McGuire, approves a state grant of $80,000 to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to make resources available for on-the-job training to 85 new employees at the Amazon facilities in Lebanon and Murfreesboro. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-389, sponsors McGuire, approves a state grant of $157,191 to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to adult workers. Have a motion, please. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2012-390, sponsors McGuire, approves a state grant of $351,238 to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to dislocated workers. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now at bills on second reading. BL 2012-214, sponsors Tigard, amends the Metro Code to restrict the metropolitan government's contribution to the Partnership 2020 Economic Development Program to being no more than twice the collective amount contributed by other governments. Have a motion, please. Have a motion. Is there a second? Have a second. Discussion? Councilman Tigard? Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know Debbie Dale's here, and so you may as well walk up here and let's ask a few questions. First of all, let me preface my remarks to the council members and the viewing public that the Nashville Chamber of Commerce is a tremendous organization that I respect, and this has nothing to do with their efforts, and I have nothing but the highest regard for their management team and what they've done. The purpose of this ordinance, though, was based on a issue brought up in the budget. Basically, the city of Nashville, Davidson County's contribution to Partnership 2020 versus the commitment from our regional partners surrounding us. And this was the best way that I knew to at least initiate this discussion. So, Debbie Dale, thank you for the homework, and if you want to introduce your compadre.
Yes, my compadre, Courtney Ross, who is in our Economic Development Department, and your title is?
I'm the Vice President of Existing Business for the Economic Team.
Right. So let me just give you a couple of minutes and explain to me the $300,000 investment that we make, why that's important for Nashville's well-being, and why that's a good expenditure of our funds.
And feel free to add on. The $300,000 annual contract is that. It's a contract for our services on the 10-person economic development team to serve as essentially as an extension of the mayor's team of economic development. And so there's a contract every year that's in place with deliverables, with measures, and then we fill out our report at the end of every year, which you have, I believe, in your packet. I'm happy to go over those deliverables, but it's our team works exclusively on expansions for Davidson County. We run that existing business program. Our team also runs the recruitment efforts for the 10-county region. Specifically for Davidson County, we when prospects are in town, we're the people that take them around town, show them properties, talk to them about the advantages of being in Davidson County. We have marketing efforts that where we deliver 3 outbound trips every year where we go to different markets and market the city, as well as inbound trips where we bring prospects and CEOs of companies to Nashville to show them the advantages and to make sure that they know that this is a top destination for businesses to relocate, and then on the expansion side to expand. And then also the marketing materials. So we market to relocation prospects, 500 every year, several times, depending on newsletter activity and announcements. And then, all the behind-the-scenes activities that go on behind job creation.
And let me say, you have a packet of information, at your desk, and I think what is important is every year there are measurable outcomes listed, and when you look at this, we've exceeded those. I think we had said that for hands-on management for businesses would be 50 relocations and expansions in Davidson County. The actual performance was 62. 75% of our work would be in targeted sectors. The corporate offices, healthcare, the big industries. Actual performance for the year was 90%, and a minimum job creation goal of 1,000 new jobs created in Davidson County, and that performance was met with the creation of 2,700 jobs. So it's great for us to obviously meet, but also exceed, because that is what I think benefits all the taxpayers here in Davidson County with the multipliers that come out of every job that's here, and supports the work that you all do.
So would it be fair to say that the more resources that you all had, the higher the expectations and performance levels and relocations that we could expect?
Are you saying if our contract was increased?
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, there would be, I think, a contract for services measurable or equal to that. I know this year we had talked about some other areas we wanted to focus on, like, the IT, worker work shortfall, some of the small business things. So I think, yes, if a contract were increased, I'm sure there obviously would be services that would go, measured services that would go with that contract.
Sure.
For Davidson County.
So when Ralph and I visited and talked about this issue, it was my understanding that you all had asked for Metro for a higher contribution than the $300,000, but this is what the administration and this body felt comfortable ultimately giving you.
I think that what we did present, that there were other barriers to growth and investment, the IT workforce shortage, the small business, and I can't remember, redevelopment. But I think you're right, in this day and time, what you all looked at and what the mayor's office looked at, and it was a great continuation of the contract that we've had with Metro for 20-something years, so it was able to deliver the amount of services that we did, right.
Okay, so getting back to my opening statement that this has nothing to do with your all stellar performance, but has more to do with why we don't get, in my personal opinion, the cooperation from the 10 regional counties surrounding us. Do you have a thought as to why this county contributes $300,000, and according to your data that you gave me, the other 10 counties is less than half of that?
Let me just say from the beginning, and I was probably with some of you maybe were around here when partnership did start, the initial contract with Metro really set the tone for regional and Davidson County economic development, in the sense that the council was saying and the mayor's office was saying this is an important investment. I think that it's how economic development works. I think, one, Davidson County is the core county. We want to keep the core county strong, so that sort of puts it at a different level, I might say, of what we do for economic development in this particular county. Each of the surrounding counties, I think, has a different way they approach economic development. Obviously, we work closely with the other counties, trying to obviously create more investment or more contributions into the counties, but they work differently, and I think we work differently with them because of that relationship, and I don't want to say the investment. And Courtney, you might say more about how we work with the counties.
Well, I'll say that there are certainly things that our team does exclusively for Davidson County. I mentioned the expansion. Our team of 2 focuses full-time on visitation of our existing businesses in Davidson County, which is in no other county. And also, I do want to address the peer city. So we're competing with cities like Austin and Raleigh and, our peer cities, Indianapolis. And those cities, have a similar model in terms of the core county contributes more. And so we've got that data to show you as well. So again, the precedent was set years and years ago. And so,
Is that comparison in our packet of the other, the Austins and Indianapolis?
You know, it was in the presentation, which I'm sure you have held on to since May. When we met with many of you individually, we also shared the PowerPoint with you of all that. We can get that to you. That's no problem.
That would be interesting
Right.
information.
And Councilman, if I would also say, I think what is important is when these dollars are leveraged by private sector dollars, I think it's 3.4 million annually that we raise to leverage all the other dollars, the public dollars that come in here. So it's very much a public-private partnership in Davidson County as well as in the region.
Sure. All right, the 130,500, do you have a list of the contributing counties and cities?
What we can say is that all the counties do participate in partnership. We do not, as a matter of really, I guess just process, disclose what individuals, companies, or contributions or investments are. That's just a process that we follow. But totally, all the counties, $130,500 is what we show coming from the counties that contribute to economic development.
But that information from city and county governments and taxpayer funds has to be a matter of public record.
It would be from the source. It would be from the source. We just do not.
You all don't provide it, so it's up to our staff to go call 30, 40, 50 cities.
It's just a matter of process that we've just followed, working over the years. It's just a process out of respect of how we get those dollars now. And some, economic development programs are set up in different ways in other counties. It could be an IDB board, it could be a chamber, it could be whatever. But it's dollars that go toward economic development.
All right, so let me ask John and Mike then, what luck have we had in researching the 10 other surrounding counties and municipalities to locate the source of this $130,500 contribution?
Mike Curl contacted the state comptroller's office and got copies or access to copies of all the CAFRAs, the certified annual financial audits of all the surrounding counties and cities. Was there any information? I mean, the CAFRAs aren't broken down by appropriation, and some of these small cities, don't have staffs that you can just call. So did we get any information?
No, we don't have it on that level headed about the total budgets that we had for the counties we requested. I'd have to look back up the CAFRs online to see if it might have a line item showing Partnership 2020.
Yeah, at this point, we don't know the line item for the Partnership 2020, but we're still looking.
All right, so I guess, fellow council members, this is my frustration about this process. And once again, I'm not questioning the effectiveness of the chamber. And if they came and said we want to give $400,000, but we talk about regional cooperation and the benefits of all the surrounding counties. But once again, it seems like Davidson County is left to bear the brunt of this funding. So Williamson County is made up of the county, and then Brentwood, Fairview, Franklin, Nolensville, Spring Hill, and Thompson Station are the major cities that we researched. But we don't know, Debbie Dale, approximately, you could not provide us what Williamson County plus the 6 municipalities.
I don't have that information broken down like that. I do know the information that I got was the total 130,500 was what would come from all the region into partnership.
So I'm just going to surmise that Williamson County, based on the successes of corporate relocations, the Nissans and whatnot, would stand to benefit probably greater than some of the more distant outlying counties. That would just be a guess on my part. But so do they make up the majority of that contribution?
You mean Nissan's group?
No, I'm talking about the Williamson County and the 6 municipalities that make up Williamson County.
That I don't know. I don't have it broken down right in front of me here. Obviously, they have a very robust economic development program on their own, in Williamson County.
Well,
So just to realize, that's also there's a partnership and I don't want to say a competition, but they have also invested dollars to market their county.
sure, and I guess what it boils down to is if I was sitting on the city council at Brentwood or Franklin and saying, Nashville's going to make a $300,000 contribution, their taxpayers are going to ante that up, I have a choice here based on our successes that we're getting a decent portion of this pie now. Why should I be encouraged to contribute any more? Do you all make the same visits to these municipalities and counties, these 10 plus 30, 40, 50 cities, and ask for a contribution and a similar contract to what you asked for Nashville?
I think from what I understand, and I'll look to Courtney, there is very much an effort to go into the counties, to talk to the mayors, the county execs, whomever it might be, anyone who's associated with economic development. And that, from what I understand, is done every year at least the beginning of each partnership cycle, and the relationships throughout the year that we can communicate about economic development. Of course, we work with a lot of them throughout the year.
To answer your question, yes, we go to for every partnership investment, we go make visits and ask for an amount, and certainly would ask for more at each of those visits. And then it's up to them if we come and do a reporting, similar to this.
Okay. Well, once again, my issue is not with the job that the chamber's doing and whatnot. It's, we're sitting here promoting regional cooperation, and Ralph talked to me at length about, trying to avoid Nashville becoming that donut that you all seen in other areas where the urban core gets decimated and everybody moves out to the counties. Because of better schools and higher quality of life and lower taxes and more land and all these factors. And, we're asked to pay more, our taxpayers, and to participate more. And yes, we're receiving more than our share of benefits, according to your report. But, where is the spirit of regional cooperation when it comes to going into taxpayers' pocketbooks and asking them to participate, whether it be Partnership 2020 or be in some type of regional transportation system? Or I was in a meeting with the Titans the other day and talked about the funding of Denver, Colorado's Denver Broncos field, and was amazed to find out that the 6 surrounding counties jointly funded that municipal stadium. Now, I can imagine the success that we would have had with LP Field if we had gone out to these 10 surrounding counties and convinced them that having pro football in Nashville and the surrounding counties, called Tennessee, not Nashville, Tennessee, that you ought to participate in the funding. And I worry that donut effect that you're talking about is in part due to higher taxes and the fact that we requiring our taxpayers to contribute more and more without seeing the cooperation, the voluntary cooperation from the surrounding counties. So I've gone on long enough. Let me just focus on one more area. I ask you, as part of your homework, to outline 3 areas where communities have received benefit from the chamber. And I ask you the Antioch I-24 corridor, and I ask you for Bellevue being my home area, and then I ask for Dickerson Road, that area. So I don't know if that's been provided to all the council members.
No, we can share that.
But that should be done. But let me just ask about the Bellevue case, because we're sitting out there with a huge blight in the community, similar to what Hickory Hollow faced. But I see these, and I understand the need for secrecy when companies talk about relocation. They don't want the word out, so you all give them nice little code words, and this is sort of like watching NCIS again. It's Project C, Project Independence, Project Snow, Project Prince, and Project Basil. I doubt Councilman Mitchell, because I had not heard of these, and I doubt Bo has heard of these, but I guess my question is, When you are recruiting these companies that chose not to go to Bellevue Center, was the Bellevue Chamber or any local homeowners associations or any local civic organizations in the community asked to participate in these events?
Addressing that particular, when a company comes to us, whether it's through their site consultant or through a company representative, whether they come to us directly or to the state, and then the lead is sent to us to respond through the RFI process, they are asking for information about available site, about available buildings exactly. They may get as specific as, where they want to go, and what type of area, what they want to, if they want to be close to I-40, if they want to be close to I-65. They've got every project's different, so it's hard to answer on each individual. So it's a real estate driven on the RFI, as well as, what's the workforce look like? We respond to all the RFIs, all the data that they ask for, all the wage information, all the data and everything. And so in these projects that you're speaking of, we submitted the Bellevue site as well as other sites, depending on the requirements of the company for that in a real estate proposition, so we're proposing that as a real estate destination for them based on, in those cases, they needed large amounts of space, which, narrows the field down in Davidson County. And so at that point, when you're involved in the RFI process, it's responding to the RFI and submitting that. If it came to the point where the company was interested in that site or that site and an additional site, and they come for a visit, and they get more and more serious about that site, that's when, everybody would get involved, because it is such a confidential issue at that point. But in those cases, I may not have been involved in many of these because they were before my time. And so if they were to get down to that, they certainly would be asked, to participate in that conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Councilman Stein, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Taking the sponsor at his word and taking his history of working with the chamber into account, my problem with this is that it's the wrong target. I mean, this is the convenient vehicle to rage against surrounding counties, but we're not questioning here the efficiency or efficacy of their work in economic development. And I understand there are all sorts of axes to grind, and I ground a couple of axe heads in earlier this year about some other chamber activity. I understand that, but that's different from this economic development work. The $300,000 for Nashville is a bargain. No matter how good the director of the mayor's office of economic development is, and he does a good job, he is one person. To compete with the other cities that we want to compete with and that everybody here wants to compete with, we would have to spend more money within Metro government if there wasn't this partnership with the chamber. And I've never heard anyone say anything but quality things about Janet Miller and the work that those folks are doing in this area. So we're penny wise and pound foolish. Now, I would be delighted to join with the sponsor in a resolution from this body, number one, to be sent to surrounding counties, asking them to pony up. I think we ought to include in that a request to Mayor Dean, who used the Denver model to create a wonderful new innovation in the last year and a half of a council of mayors in Middle Tennessee. And I think there are 25 or 30 mayors, are there not? Regional mayors that are involved in meetings. He ought to, at that meeting, say to those folks, look, we got a great thing going on here. If we had more resources here, if you all put more resources there, then they could even do more. But to penalize an organization that we're giving credit for doing good work, that's actually saving us money in our own budget by supplementing the work we do in our budget, is just the wrong target. So for that reason, I'm going to vote against this, but I'm delighted to join you in the effort to ask others that surround us to consider carrying their fair share of this load. I think their numbers couldn't be better. We know they're promoting the hell out of Nashville, and I would hope that maybe you'd even think about, just now that you have put this on the table, think about pulling this and let's move forward with something that targets the people that need to be targeted to participate with.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can understand where Charlie's coming from. I've been, and I've talked to Debbie Dale about this. The general public, I mean, and I'm not going to get all up in the air. I love the chamber too, as they say, and what they do is great work. But Charlie's ideas aren't bad. The bottom line is when folks look at our budget and they see $300,000 from us and they see $5,000 from another county around us, I mean, no matter what we're doing with it, it just is what it looks like. And that's what he's getting at, and I'm not for his bill. I'm not going to be voting for his bill, and I understand the circumstances, and it's in the budget, and that's the way it is. But if you look at, if the average person looks at that, that's what he's looking at, the average taxpayer, is it doesn't look like that our surrounding counties or surrounding cities are just putting in their fair share. It's just as simple as that. Now, and you can talk about mayors and asking other mayors, but you know their council resolutions are just like the resolutions we passed with send to the state legislature. Having been a part of that, they go in the trash can, gang. They don't pay any attention to that kind of stuff. They're not going to pay for anything if they think they can get somebody else to pay for it. So you know it's just as simple as that situation. Mr. Chairman, there's an amendment, I believe, that's going to be offered on this particular bill that actually may have, may be even better to some extent, Mr. Sponsor, that I kind of like that if the amendment comes up as just another bill on its own, and what that does is that when we pass the budget, correct me if I'm wrong, John, when we pass the budget, this is going to happen. I mean, the money's going to be there, and the chamber's going to get the money. But the amendment that was going to be offered to this says that this particular issue would come back before the council, which would be where you would make your investigation, and with all these different numbers and what other counties would say, that it has to come back before the council for a vote of, like any other resolution, in order for it to be spent. And, you know, I kind of like that idea. It gives credibility. It gives accountability to that particular issue in the budget. Right now, this is a done deal. It's already gone. No matter how you feel about this, what the chamber's doing, good or bad, the money's going to be spent. But for this particular issue, if you really want to talk about it, and if you really want to understand it, the amendment that one of them that is going to be offered ought to be coming back as just a bill on its own. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mitchell, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think Charlie hit on something earlier. You know, yeah, it's great that we can do some economic development to downtown, and we all love this downtown, and it's vibrant. But, you know, they talked about availability of land. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, we have availability of land in Bellevue. That's one thing we're not short of. You know, a site, I think we've got a site out there. Workforce, we have a highly educated workforce in that area. I just think, I understand the secrecy you need, but I also understand or don't understand why you haven't reached out to the people who could be great ambassadors for those regions of this county, the people sitting here, the people who appropriated your $300,000, and why you haven't reached out to any of us to help bring those jobs in. You know, I know it keeps being referred to as a contract. Is there any competition on that contract?
I think I don't think there is. I don't know. I think it's not really, it's a contract that's part of the mayor's budget and economic development. I look to Rich. Is there that's how it's been set up from what I understand.
And John, let's say next year's budget, could we put something in, maybe, you know, as it's matching, that this city matches the amount of money up to $300,000 that they are funded from the other outlying counties? Would that be feasible?
The funds could probably be set aside in a reserve account to be appropriated if, you know, matching funds are raised. There's probably a mechanism where that could be done.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe that's something we want to look at, and that would encourage the other counties, if they want to keep continuing to get the same services that they seem to be receiving, and us creating their jobs instead of jobs for Davidson County residents, then they will fund up to the amount we fund. With that being said, you need to look through the audience, through this chamber. You've got a lot of people who want to help you. But if we don't have the information, we can't help anybody. And I think this council and the previous council has overwhelmingly proved to your organization and the business community in Davidson County that we're interested in moving this city forward and doing what's right to create jobs and create the industry that this city's based upon. And I think we've done a good job in this chamber. And we just need y'all to realize that and extend your hand out to us and we can help you.
Thank you, Councilman. It has been a good partnership, and I appreciate that. I know we've had conversations about that before, so thank you.
Councilman Anthony Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, don't want to belabor this. I think I was leaning towards what Councilman Stein was saying, rather than maybe trying to slap an amendment on this and things like that, that maybe just scrapping it and some kind of non-binding resolution to the other counties, I think would be the best solution here. Overall, it's just not the time to scale back investment. Obviously, what's been happening in Nashville has not happened by accident. Matt Wiltshire's team, the chamber, all this is really good stuff, and I don't think we need to scale back any investment. So, if we're going to send a message to the outlying counties, I think that procedure may be the way that Councilman Stein mentioned, the resolution would be the way to do it. And I think we do need them to ante up on the investment. I think not only with this, but with transit, all the things we want to do. The mayor's got the great partnership going on with the other mayors. Maybe we should step in with some communication as a council and as a body. And that may be the best thing that came out of this is getting in touch with the other counties and moving forward that way. So, and thanks to the chamber for putting this together. We give MNPS $800 million, and I'd love a packet like this from them. So for, the investment we're making with you guys, I appreciate the homework you guys did and putting this together for us, and we thank you for all the work that you do. And I've enjoyed working with you over the years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Berry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I too won't belabor this. I think that the package is very impressive, and what we're getting a bang for our buck is actually incredibly impressive. So thank you. I also did want to just ask you a quick question, Debbie. Though, you focused on, we seem to be focused around the counties and the competition between the counties. But clarify for me, when we're looking at a lot of this job relocation, our competition isn't Williamson County; it's Charlotte or some other place. Is that correct?
Right, I'll let Courtney answer that.
It is. And as I mentioned before, it's our peer cities of competitive that we benchmarks ourselves against are Austin, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, Atlanta, and Indianapolis. And these are all counties that have regional efforts, all counties that are very strong and that we have to compete against every day.
Okay. And I think that's important to remember that the competition isn't just between the counties. It's about trying to bring in national organizations that are benefiting all of us in Davidson County and the region. I would agree with my esteemed colleague to my right, and I would hope that the sponsor would consider withdrawing this at this time and then go ahead and proceed with trying to convince the regional coalition through the mayor, et cetera, to ask and get them to pony up. So I appreciate what the sponsor's done. I think this has been a really good conversation, so thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Hunt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to get a clarification because I've been hearing about a contribution from the outside counties. I was just wondering, do anybody know how much money do we get collectively from these outside counties before we can say we need more? We may not be getting anything, we may get some. But what made me think about that was when Charlie was talking about the Denver model, that if everybody ponied up for the LP Field Stadium, that we may have something a little bit better, a little bit bigger. But then I was reminded for the ticket tax we got on all the seats in the stadium, where there's somewhere about 80,000 people come in here every time they have a game, which a lot of them come from the same counties that you speak of. So I'm not so sure if I can follow this logic, although I know some of the logic that we need to have some contributions from other cities to kind of be a little bit more unified in terms of dollars. But I'd like to see if we are getting anything such as a ticket tax, what's that word? Because when you talk about money from outside counties, that's exactly what that is, money from outside counties, probably from every county in Tennessee. So that's what I was concerned about before we get too far off in the pit of this thing. But I think we're still getting a good bargain for what we're getting. According to these numbers and this report, I think we're getting doing just about as well as most cities will do. Thank you, and I appreciate the Chamber's help and contribution to this city so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Dowell, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just had a quick question, Debbie. I wanted to know, do we have any type of, and you may have said this and I just missed it, any type of contractual agreement with the surrounding counties with regard to like benchmarks for the money that they contribute to you?
No. Not that I'm aware of. And they're considered private investments to Partnership 2020, so they're all different, and we'd have to, but there's a piece of paper that they sign that says what they're going to invest in partnership. Does that answer your question?
Well, do you have, if they sign a contract to invest a certain amount, what type of return? Do you have any contracts saying that we promise you X amount of jobs for the contribution they make or anything like that?
We don't.
Okay. And the other question, do you have a breakdown? So I guess you wouldn't have anything like a breakdown with regard to what type of job creation that's occurred outside of Davidson County
Yes, that was part, and I'll resend the PowerPoint presentation because I think that had, this is what we're talking about.
The PowerPoint presentation had a map of all the counties and the job creation for a year. I think it was for 2009, 2010, so we'll update that for more current information.
Okay, and I'll just say I'm supportive of the Chamber's effort. I know that we're getting a real big bargain for the amount that we're contributing. A lot of people don't know, but business don't just fall in your lap. You have to send somebody out to get it, and it's a tough job. And I applaud you for what you do there. I think along with Councilman Tigert, I hear the same sentiments that's been shared about economic development out in the perimeter of our city and whether or not places like Hickory Hollow Mall and the real estate we have out in the southeast of the county as well as out in Bellevue, because they're having the same situation we have with big box real estate being empty, whether or not if there's any efforts at all being made to market those areas and to show those areas and try to recruit businesses to those areas, because what we're seeing is businesses move around the perimeter but not really looking at our areas. And I understand the need to keep things private. Mm-hmm. And I definitely support that, but it would be nice to know, and I've talked with Matt Wiltshire about this from the mayor's office as well as from the state economic development office. I talked to someone there about maybe sending some type of report to let us know that you've shown the area, because people want to know, are people looking? And we have no way as council people to say that people are out looking in the area other than the ones that, are contacted through us and we take out and show. So I think that would help and build goodwill among the people to know that you are showing the area and it's being marketed just like all of Davidson County. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's good. I think, again, let me just say, I think appreciating the conversation just about economic development and the partnership, and that's a great recommendation we can take.
That area was included in the homework that we provided.
And I'll get that to you.
Okay, because I didn't go to that either. I didn't make mine.
Yeah.
Councilman Tigert, you're recognized.
My motion is to withdraw this bill, as long as I can talk about it tomorrow night for 5 minutes.
That's up to the Vice Mayor. That's not up to me.
Four, whatever. I'll talk faster then.
I have a motion to withdraw and to limit Councilman Tigert to 30 seconds tomorrow on the floor. The motion is to withdraw in a second. Any discussion on the motion to withdraw? If I have some people in my queue. If on the motion to withdraw, raise your hand.
To withdraw?
No, if you wish to be recognized on the motion to withdraw. Seeing none, all those in favor of withdrawal, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Yes, Councilman Garrett.
Would it be proper to at least ask Councilman Dominic to explain in briefly what his amendment was and might offer at some time? Or he could Would it,
Councilman Dominic.
or John could explain it? Could be filed as a new bill. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. BL 2012-215, sponsor Stites, amends the Metro Code to prohibit the use of Metro government funds to purchase, construct, or erect signs that identify the name of an elected or appointed official. I don't have a letter from Councilman Stites, nor is he here, so we will defer that by rule. BL 2012-218, sponsors McGuire and Hunt, amends the Metro Code to provide for a temporary reduction of sewer charges for customers within the area of the combined sewer overflow who install green roofs on their buildings. May I have a motion, please? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Council Lady Berry?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask a quick question about this, and perhaps, actually, you know what, I'll just take it to Public Works. I'll ask it in there. Thanks.
Thank you, Council Lady. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-219, sponsors Pridemore, McGuire, and Hunt, authorize the acquisition of property located at 916 Berwick Trail for a pump station upgrade. Have a motion, please. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-220, sponsors Hunt and McGuire, authorize the acquisition of property located at 3268 Brick Church Pike for the Brick Church Pike Equalization Facility Project. Have a motion, please. Have a motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-221, sponsors Pridemore, McGuire, and Hunt, authorizes the acquisition of easements for an upgrade to the Vandiver Pump Station. May I have a motion, please? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-222, sponsors Anthony Davis and Hunt, authorize the acquisition of property located at Brush Hill Road, unnumbered, for the Loves Branch Pump Station Upgrade Project. Have a motion, please. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-223, sponsors Bednay, Jernigan, and McGuire, authorizes the exchange of property at 2191 Blake Drive for property at 6036 Culbertson Road for use as part of the Mill Creek Greenway. Have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-224, sponsors Bennett, Hunt, and McGuire, authorize the acquisition of 48 permanent easements for the Dickerson Pike Stormwater Improvement Project. May I have a motion, please? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-225, sponsors Claiborne and Hunt, authorizes the acquisition of 4 easements for the replacement of the Munn Road Bridge. May I have a motion, please? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-226, sponsors Stites, Hunt, and McGuire, authorized the acquisition of easements for 12 properties located along Murfreesboro Pike and Saturn Drive for the Saturn Drive Stormwater Improvement Project. Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2012-227, sponsors Glover, Hunt, and McGuire, authorized the acquisition of 12 easements for properties located along Andrew Jackson Way, Brett Ridge Drive, Carriageway Court, Jackson's Hill Road, Jackson's Valley Road, and Jackson's View Road for a stormwater improvement project. May I have a motion, please? A motion and a second. Councilman Garrett.
Mr. Chairman, I do this very rarely, but since we might be on TV, Goodlettsville plays in the Little League World Series, 7 o'clock Wednesday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Stein.
I didn't want to be recognized on the bill, but this is the chair's final meeting and want to congratulate him on a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilman Stein. Appreciate that. Any further discussion on BL 2012-227? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We've seen Councilman Stites walk in, so without objection, we will hear Councilman Stites' bill, which we previously deferred by rule. BL 2012-215, sponsor Stites, amends the Metro Code to prohibit the use of Metro government funds to purchase, construct, or erect signs that identify the name of an elected or appointed official. May I have a motion, please? Have a motion. Is there a second? Have a second. Any discussion? Councilman Hunt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this one, I saw the amendment. Is this going to maintain the signs that, on the construction signs that's required by codes, and get rid of the ones on the building? When I read the amendment, it didn't state that, I don't think. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
I'm not familiar with the amendment.
The amendment would clarify that the bill does not apply to those temporary construction signs that are put up regarding public works projects.
Thank you. That's what I need to know.
Councilman Garrett?
Mr. Chairman, I think I've spoken more in this meeting than I have in most, but for those that weren't here when this bill was passed, and for those of us that were, just to let you know why this was done to start with, while it looks as if, there may be kind of political reasons why this is being done, so that you take the council member's name off, or you take the mayor's name off, or you take another elected official's name off of certain types of things, realizing that years ago, what was happening is when you had water projects, when you had sewer projects, when you had sidewalks projects, or you had road projects, or you had bridge projects, or anything in your areas, you had people driving around, and you'd see people that would be sitting down doing nothing, or you'd see, trash everywhere, or people would come by and say, if they're going to do a sidewalk from here to there, why don't they finish it up and go from here to there? Then they didn't know who to call, because there wasn't anything up. So that was actually put up for the very reason that it sounds like we didn't, council members or the mayor didn't do it to advertise themselves as elected officials. They did it as to let people know who to call when they had, whether it was complaints or whether it was congratulatory, we're glad you're doing this, or for whatever. But that's why it was done to start with, is to make sure, because believe you me, if there's stuff going on out there and people won't either call you about it to complain or to congratulate you or to ask you if you can do something else, they don't know who to call unless there's something out there. So anyway, that's just why it was done years ago, and I'm for what you're doing, but just let you know why it was done before.
Councilman Stites, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just real quickly and briefly, the genesis of this was actually an idea of one of my constituents. I would love to take the credit for it. It is directed towards, we have a lot of constitutional offices in Davidson County, and they spend some of them spend money putting up their signs with their names on it. They get voted out, or they retire, they move on, and then we spend more money putting up new signs. That was the genesis of the bill. And so now we have this was realized this was going to catch the public works signs, and I think the amendment takes care of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Stein, you're recognized.
I need to get in quick before Councilman Garrett talks again. Have we adopted the amendment?
It has not been offered yet.
Can I offer it for you? I'd like to offer the amendment.
I have a motion on the amendment.
And please just, John, clarify one more time what the amendment does to this.
The amendment would ensure that the signs that Councilman Garrett referenced, letting people know about public works projects and what's being done and when the completion date is, those would be allowed, and they could have the mayor's and the council member's name on them. It would also clarify that, like the markers out here on the courthouse that have the mayor and council members' names who were in office at the time the courthouse renovation was approved, it would clarify that those are allowed as well.
Renew my motion on the amendment.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Second. Council Lady Langston on the amendment.
Yes, on the amendment. I heard your explanation, Mr. Attorney Cooper. We're getting ready to cut the ribbon on the 28 31st Avenue connector. Will a plaque be allowed on this entrance and exit of the connector?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. On the amendment, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Amendment passes. John, as a point of personal privilege, what would this bill then cover if it doesn't cover any of those
It
signs?
would, in the analysis, I had Mike go out and take some pretty pictures of the ground and building signs. And so like over here at Howard Campus, you've got the big sign that lists the offices. That's what would be allowed. Then on the right side, you have a building sign that used to say John Areola, Davidson County Clerk, which the Areola has been removed. That would be prohibited.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Stites, go ahead.
It was explained to me that policy already prohibits the use of funds from public funds from being used for individuals' names on signs. However, some elected officials have just bypassed or foregone policy, and so this puts into statute what policy already states. So,
thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Dowell, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, I just have a question about this. I'm just a little confused. One, I really don't think one person's judgment to be precedent for us imposing rules. I don't know if it's the norm for people to spend a lot of money putting up signs. I don't really know. I only heard of one situation where we've had this. But my concern is about transparency. I think with government, people need to know who people are. With regard to the clerk, I think it's necessary. I like to know who the clerk is. I like to know the person's name. And it doesn't have to be put on every single landmark around the square, but I think it's good to have the person's name there so that you know who they are. I like to know who people are in leadership and know who to talk to. So I'm just wondering with this bill, so we would not know, there'll be no type of signage that tell us, for example, who the Register of Deeds is. No clerk. We would have just plain clerk. So they'll.
Oops, excuse me, Council Lady. Go ahead.
You're getting too quick with the button.
It was an accident.
So would this exclude any type, like something on the door, like the little peel and seal? So we would have nothing to basically let us know who the clerk or who the Register of Deeds or the trustee is, nothing to identify the person that leaves that office.
Any sign that is 1 square foot in size or less is perfectly fine. So the names on the doors and all that would be exempt. We're just talking about the larger,
monument.
Yeah, the nameplates, those are fine. It's the larger signs.
Okay, thank you.
and this again just solidifies by law what policy had already stated.
May I turn your microphone off now, Council Lady?
You may, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure everybody wants to make a motion to adjourn, but I will say that for the sponsor and the constituent that he asked, all of these rules came down from the state because this is a state constitutional office, and at one time there was state law that said you had to make your check out to like Charlie Cardwell, trustee. You had to do that. So there was enabling legislation that allowed the counties to decide whether or not they wanted to do that. Bear in mind that if you fool with this too much, there'll be another state law that will override any policy or any ordinance that this county has if that's what they want to do.
Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no further discussion on the bill as amended, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. On a note of personal privilege, I was going to artificially extend this meeting to be chair for a little longer, but the committee helped me on that very well. But I do want to say thank you to everyone on the committee and to the council for your help and support. It's been a real honor being your chairman. Thank you to John and to the administration for all your help as well. Special thanks to council members Stein and Barry for your help as previous chairman. So thank you all so much, and we are adjourned.